Difficult to not get emotional when you look at that wonderful interview that Peter just did there with Dennis Goldberg. Now, at 10 a.m. in about 20 minutes' time, the Kathrada Foundation will be having a press conference at the Nelson Mandela Foundation here in Harten in Johannesburg to outline funeral arrangements, amongst other things. We're counting down to do towards that. But our reporter, Aldrin Sampear, he's at the foundation right now. He joins us live for an update. Very good morning to you, Aldrin. I understand you're about to do an interview for us. But before you get there, just give us a quick idea as to what's the latest coming out of the foundation with regards to funeral arrangements.
Well, yes, good morning, Eben. Today, of course, is the press briefing that will be led by the Nelson Mandela Foundation. And, of course, we are expecting the Kathrada Foundation, members of the Kathrada Foundation, as well as his family members, to be part of this press briefing. And earlier on, I was speaking to the communications manager of the Nelson Mandela Foundation about today's event. And she indicated that, quite ironically, is that today's press briefing was organized to be an update, to give an update to South Africans on the health status of Kathrada, and unfortunately that has now turned into a day where we will be hearing tributes to the former struggle icon. And right now, actually, I'm joined by an Political Prisoners Association's Deputy Secretary General, and you were saying that you were with Kathrada back in 1985, was it, in Robben Island. Can you just take us back to the moment that you first met him, and here this man was who stood during the Rivonia trial and saying that he will continue to fight for South Africa to be a liberated country?
Yeah, firstly, actually, we are deeply saddened to hear about the bad news of the passing of Comrade Kathy. As the Ex-Political Prisoners Association that represent all the political prisoners in South Africa. When we woke up this morning, we were very much shocked to hear about this bad news. So we felt that we should be able to, pass condolences to the family of Comrade Kathy, and also to deep down our revolutionary banners and in respect of Comrade Kathy. And when we first actually met Comrade Kathy, it was on transit to Paulsmoor, via Paulsmoor to Robben Island in 1985. As I represent the generation of young political prisoners that were incarcerated during the 80s. And when we arrived in Robben Island, the first thing that inspired us, it was through his courageous leadership and his legacy that he left in the island via Paulsmoor, and in terms of political education, and in terms of his inspiration to the youth, leadership qualities, and inspired us that we should be able to carry the struggle forward, and also that we should not dare to surrender in terms of the conditional release.
Just listening to you speak now, I remember yesterday was it that I went onto the foundation's website, and this is probably a call to all South Africans who are currently watching this to go into the Kathrada Foundation's Facebook page, and there's a video that they've posted there where Hollywood actor Morgan Freeman is doing the voiceover on the life of Kathrada, and there's a specific clip where former President Nelson Mandela speaks of the courage of Kathrada and how Kathrada would tell him when he's wrong. He wasn't afraid to do that. Would you say that this is something that you've experienced even back then?
Yes. What I would like to say is, in Robben Island, the type of leadership principles that we were taught was against all odds in terms of when a comrade has committed some certain acts, whether wrong or right, but we were taught to be disciplined. We call it constructive criticism. It is not a destructive criticism where we criticize a comrade by destroying him. And we were taught actually some of these values from the leadership at the B section, that you mustn't be afraid to talk about things in terms of or to criticize a comrade, Unlike currently, when we are seeing leaders, particularly in the ruling party, that spirit and the values are not much more encouraged in terms of constructive criticisms. People, they took it as personally. One of his legacies, and which was an inspiration to us, was that we should be selfless when we go outside. And also, we need to be humble, when approaching each and every individual. That is why most of the political prisoners, you'll never see them fighting for positions. That is one of the legacies within the political organization.
Mr. Masemola, just quickly before I let you go, of course we've heard that he has been quite a critical voice even within the movement, the African National Congress. And last year during the 2016 elections, or heading into the 2016 elections, he sent out an email, an open letter to President Jacob Zuma, calling on the president to submit to the will of the people, calling on the president to step down. Although he wasn't happy with the ANC's leadership, he still remained within the party and even campaigned for the party during the elections.
As I said before, that one of the key values that bestowed us in Robben Island, it was in unity, in cohesion, and the element of being constructive. As I said before, constructive criticism. He was correct, because that culture, it was inculcated to us that whenever there is a problem, we should rise above those problems, but in an organized fashion. Remember, Comrade Kathy, he was the one, through the leadership that was sanctioned in Robben Island, in peace section, that he spoke about. We were involved in the underground structures, communication, intelligence, and political education. And then one of those key elements that he taught us, it was organizational discipline. Now, Comrade Kathy issued a statement calling on the president to step down. Well, from the association point of view, we view it, as a constructive criticism, but he was not saying that solemnly in isolation. Well, it was through his right that he should comment on such issues. Well, we never actually condone him by saying that, because we believe that it was for his ethical right, and also to see things different from what we see. So we believe that his leadership role that he played in the struggle, his ethics, has shaped some of us through the leadership positions, and also many South Africans here inside the country, that we will miss him a lot. May his soul rest in peace.
Well, thank you so much, and indeed, may his soul rest in peace. But as his soul rests in peace, it will be his legacy that continues to live on. And lots of emphasis through all media houses is that issue around the open letter that he sent to President Jacob Zuma, calling on the president to step down after the Nene Gate saga, as well as after the Nkandla court case ruling. But as I've mentioned earlier on, is that quite interestingly, is that he had a quite critical voice, quite critical of the current ANC's leadership, but still remained within the party. Some have seen him being with Save SA, where some were saying that should we see struggle veterans being part of an organization that seems to be undermining the ANC, and he remained the part of Save SA, as well as his wife Barbara Hogan as well. And that's something quite interesting about Uncle Kathy, is that although he was quite critical of the ANC, he remained a committed member of the party. And as I mentioned earlier on, we were in the Val in Vereniging ahead of the 2016 elections, and he was campaigning with the ANC to make sure that the ANC gets a decisive victory. And of course, as we speak of the legacy of of Ahmed Kathrada, one cannot take away his politics. And throughout today, I guess, as we speak to various guests, we'll be speaking around his character within, for instance, the ANC's Integrity Committee, which was established after Mangaung. Remember that he was part of the inaugural members of the Integrity Committee, and whether the Integrity Committee has done what it should have done as per that Mangaung conference as it was established. It's back to you into the studio.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aldrin Sampear, of course, coming to us live. Then, in the Muslim faith, it's believed that the good deeds that you do during your life will help you to ascend into heaven. In the case of Ahmed Kathrada, one thinks that that would be a given. Of course, on the last day, it's called the Day of Judgment. That's when all good souls will ascend to heaven.